Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
Hi, I'm Ken Jennings. All of us here at Jeopardy want to thank you for your service to our nation. We truly honor and appreciate you, and what's more, we're looking for contestants like you to play on our show. So head to Jeopardy.com now and take the Anytime test, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon right here on the Alex Trebek stage.
And welcome to America's Heroes Group, this time a roundtable community outreach with LULAC.
And now, today is Saturday, November 18, 2023. Happy Thanksgiving. That's coming up this Thursday. I hope you guys have a great Turkey Day, especially those overseas serving our country. November is Military Family Appreciation, National Family Caregiver, and Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month. Our host is Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. And we have a partner with us. That's Danitza D. James. She's a U.S. Army Iraq combat veteran, CEO of Repatriate Our Patriots, and the Subcommittee Veterans Chair of LULAC. And we have a panelist with us, Livier Lazaro, U.S. Marine Corps veteran and commander of the VFW Post 7420, Don Diego. How you guys doing today?
Hi, thank you for having us. We're doing great.
So you guys collaborated on HR 4569. Tell us about that and what does that mean? Start with Danitza.
Thank you, Sean. The Veteran Service Recognition Act, it was introduced by the House Democrat Mark Takano, and the Veteran Service Recognition Act will require the Department of Defense to collaborate on a study, right, for non-citizen veterans, so that they can be assisted to come back, but also to stop future deportation. And that is extremely important part, right? It will mandate the DOD to keep track and make sure that their naturalization is completed before they leave the military service.
That sounds like a great improvement, because tell us because you had experiences with this before as well. Tell us what the problem was for those who have not heard our previous broadcast. There's people that serve our country, and then what happens to them if they're not U.S. citizens in certain situations?
Yeah, absolutely. So myself, right, I served in the military and I was a legal permanent resident. That's something that you have to be a legal permanent resident in order to serve in the military. What does that mean? A lot of people know this as you have to have a green card, right? So for that, there's really no process that any of the branches, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force have set up to make sure that they assist the service member in completing the process so that they can obtain their citizenship. For me, it happened because of deployment. I was deployed and I was not able to complete my naturalization ceremony before I left the military. So what happens when you do that, now you are under the immigration laws. As a non-citizen, you are under the immigration law. And if you get in trouble with the law, you commit a crime, right, then that immigration law makes that offense a deportable offense. And that is very critical because, so for example, right, I'm just gonna paint a picture here. If Livier and I we both deployed, we're War Army, she's U.S. citizen, I am not, right? We get pulled over because a tail light is out. And then there happens to be a unregistered weapon in the car. So we both get charged for that, right? And what happens is that she serves a time, pays a fee, right? And then she gets to move on and live her life. For me, I don't get the same opportunity because I'm not a citizen, but we're both veterans. But the military service that I did has nothing to do when it comes to that, because an offense turns into an aggravated felony under the immigration law, which is what makes someone deportable. So for Livy, right, for her it's just a felony. She's okay. She just goes and serves her time, and that's it. For me, under the immigration law, it turns into an aggravated felony, which makes me deportable. And it shouldn't have never happened.
Yeah, so Ms. Lazaro, can you tell us what this means to you, and then also what are some of the consequences of someone who's deported, say they're deported to Mexico, just south of the border? Do they still access their benefits if they served in the military?
No, actually, thank you for having me. I am a retired Army veteran, Iraq as well. And, what it makes me realize, when I found out about 7 years ago, I couldn't believe it. Like, our veterans that I met, how I found out was the veterans that we have in Tijuana now. And no, like, even if somehow they did have a claim already decided before they left, there's no access to care. They can't cross and go to the VA, and there's definitely nothing down there for them. And as Danitza was just saying, comparing both, I actually could compare myself to Laura Mesa, who is the one female that we just currently brought back. She's a deported veteran. She suffered military sexual trauma, went to combat, came out, got out dishonorably, had a hard time adjusting, had a lot of trauma, started self-medicating with weed. These stories are pretty similar as far as in and out of the legal system, but once we both served our time, she got deported, and then she was out in Costa Rica for 16 years. She served her time in jail, then she served time in ICE, then got deported. So it's insane, and then they're out there with no mental health, no doctors, no access to any other veterans. It's just a huge injustice. I still get so shocked at how many veterans we have out there, because there's a lot of different reasons for deportation, but all the ones that I know that have, happened to where we have, some of our veterans that have gotten deported or committed a crime, they are accountable for what they did. They served their time, yet they get punished twice, and they get sent out to places where there is no care, there is nothing. And the only way that we can get them back right now, without all of the work that everyone's doing to push this movement and this bill, is in a pine box. If they die, then they will send them back to us to bury with honor, which I think is just a bigger slap in the face, or just even more insult to injury with what's happening. And we need a streamlined way of doing, giving citizenship. Just yesterday, I ran into some Army recruiters who, at our post, we always educate about this movement. All four of them did not know that citizenship was not automatic. And they're the ones recruiting right now. So it needs to be like a standard.
Are you saying the recruiters didn't know, or the people that were signing up, the recruits didn't know?
The recruiters did not know.
So they're selling the idea that if you join the military, you'll become a citizen, but they didn't realize that wasn't even true, a reality.
No, that it was not automatic. One of them did have a story where he had helped someone, and I explained to him, good thing you ran into you, because had there been leadership that was not supportive, or command that was not supportive, then that wouldn't have happened for that soldier. So, and it's like, even between them, some of them knew a little bit, but they're recruiting, they're saying that there's a pathway to citizenship, assuming that it's automatic, not even knowing that there's a whole process that needs to be, gone through, and complicated forms that they will need help with. They still didn't know that. So there's this huge break in the system. Can't promise something, America, without guaranteeing it.
Danitza, how long does it take typically if you go through the process to become a U.S. citizen through the military?
Well, through the military, right now, because we are at war, this is a wartime, it's supposed to be expedited, and it can take up to 6 months. For any regular process, it can take up to a year or two. And something that a lot of people don't know is that, for example, if the application is not filled out properly, they will return it to you, and then you will have to start all over again. I know we were told of a story where a veteran did not put NA in the lines where there was no information to be put on there, and they returned the application to them because they didn't approve of the NA on those lines.
So he missed the non-applicable abbreviation NA on a line. There was a question that was asked but didn't apply to him.
Yes.
He put NA. He didn't put NA. Still was a blank line, and it got returned.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Because you can't have any, I guess you can't have any blank
meticulous
lines on the application, it sounds like.
And it's very meticulous process, right? And when you're asking a 16 or a 17, well, actually a 17 or 18-year-old to fill out this paperwork by themselves, you're asking a lot. And honestly, like for me, in my personal experience, I had no idea what immigration forms even looked like or meant. My parents were the ones that took care of all of that. And so I thought that the legal office in the military would have helped me to do that. But they didn't have a legal attorney who specialized in immigration. So the attorneys that the Army had available for me, they didn't even know either.
Wow. So how hopeful are you this is going to be passed, this bill?
Well, we are really struggling right now because it seems like this both parties, they're looking at this as a political issue, right? We have currently 41 co-sponsors, and we only have 2 Republicans, which it was the original sponsors who introduced the bill with Mark Takano. We have not had any other Republican counterpart to support this bill. And it's unfortunate because it seems that they're making this a political issue when it's not. This is, right, it's something that the Department of Defense should have taken care of before the service member even left the military. This should not even be a problem, right? So that is number one. So they're seeing this from the immigration perspective, and that's just the wrong way to do so. We don't ask, nobody asked us, right, hey, we're good enough to die for this country, but we're not good enough to be given our citizenship, something that it was promised to us before we joined.
Now, Ms. Lazaro, can you tell us, give us an idea about what does it feel like to be deported, and what is the experience like if you're deported to a country where maybe you didn't grow up in?
Well, from what I have heard from some of our deported veterans, I mean,
also, can you do me one favor, also, Ms. Lazaro? Can you come closer to the phone? I think you have us on speaker. I think you might have us on speaker.
I do. Okay, hold on a second.
So we can hear you a little bit better.
Can you hear me?
That's much better.
Okay. Yes. So one of the things that I have heard from some of our deported and repatriated veterans is they are sent to a country that they do not know, but then they are also sent there as an American veteran. Like, this country knows that, the people know that, so they can be in danger. And there's been a lot of times where cartels have wanted to either kidnap our veterans or hurt them because of the skills that they know we do have. And they're out there, they're lost, they don't have, any family that they know there. It's not a country that they know. And we're also putting them in danger because now their country sees them as an American. They pledge loyalty to this country. They are an American. So we're not only disposing of them like that, we're putting them in danger.
And if you're separated from your family, do you often see the family go with the person, the veteran, or who's going to another country, or do they stay here in the United States?
No, the family will usually stay here in the United States, keep working to try to get the veteran back, but it splits the family up. Some that have been out for 2025, the family unit has broken down completely. Some relates, like with our veteran Hector Barras, he has an older daughter who he barely has any relationship with because of the deportation. And sometimes new families are gotten, when they're deported, they usually start a family down there. And then you have to think about that when they are coming back to deportation. So it's always a separation of the family, and depending on what country they're deported to, because we do have deported veterans in 50 countries. It might not be as easy as the ones that we have if you wanted to be able to get to the border. We have them in Kenya, in Brazil, in Germany. We might not get as close access to be able to let them know that we support them, let them know that we're still fighting and until they all come home. But we really need this bill to be passed. It is definitely a bipartisan bill. It has immigration in it only because America did not uphold its promise of citizenship the first time. It's not an immigration bill. It's a veteran bill. And it just needs to be seen as that. It has immigration because they didn't do it right the first time, and we're trying to prevent that now.
Now, Ms. Danitza, so if someone, say, joins the military, they're from a foreign country, they do their service, they didn't get naturalized or didn't become a U.S. citizen through the military. How hard is it for them to just on their own go and become a U.S. citizen or do the application process just outside of the military when they get out of the military?
So right now, there are several states that are providing resources, right? For example, Texas has a Texas Veterans Commission that has pro bono attorneys to help service members, both active duty and veterans, to complete their immigration application. But for example, I'm located in Virginia, and I have not seen any immigration office. I'm not saying there are not any out here, but they're just not as available to service members and veterans. So it can still take up to a year or two to complete that process, not to mention the fees that they have to pay for the applications.
How expensive is it?
Well, I know that one of the applications, the fee is $400 just for the initial application, and then the fees just keep coming up. For example, even for some of the veterans that came back on humanitarian parole, in order for them to apply for an extension, they have to pay $750 just for the application. It's not reimbursable if they don't get approved.
Wow. And then, is it easier to become a U.S. citizen if you have military service on your resume? Danitza?
Well, it's easier simply because it's going to be expedited when you're active duty, right? But it's as something that a lot of people don't know or may think that they join the military so they can get their citizenship, but that is not the case. So in my experience, I already had a green card. I was already here legally, and I could have just continue the process and apply for my naturalization without joining the military. So I really don't need the military service, but because we are at wartime, the process is expedited and some of the fees are waived. That is really the only difference. And I know we're getting close to our time, but I do want to share before we go that I want to share this with the audience because this is one of the injustices, right, that we see, that veterans are not allowed to come back when they are deported, but they can come back if they're dead. They can come back to the United States and be buried at a national cemetery with full honors. And this happened just a couple of months ago. A Vietnam veteran passed away in Juarez, Mexico. His appendix ruptured, and he did not have the health care or the money to pay to be seen. And the ICE department, DHS, denied his request for humanitarian parole, and they said that it was not an emergency. He died 3 days later.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they can't visit the U.S.? They have to basically stay outside the country?
No.
Correct.
Wow. All right, I appreciate you guys coming on our show again and giving us this information, because I think a lot of people do not realize, understand, particularly for people that are here, that are from other countries, that are not U.S. citizens, that join the military, that have the idea that they will become U.S. citizens if they serve, thinking that it's an automatic thing when it's really not.
It's not, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, it's not. And right now, like, for example, we've been trying to get a hold of Mike Bose from Chicago, and he has not answered our calls. He is not a co-sponsor of this bill. And what that tells me is that he's not supporting our military services, our military branches that took an oath to protect and defend this country.
Danitza D. James, Livier, Lazaro, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. You guys have a great weekend.
You too. This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back.